Welcome back to Robin Reviews. No, I'm not doing another one yet about Funko, but similar to when I had M'Baku and the Glow in the Dark Black Panther Funko when I reviewed Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and similar to when I did Coach Bombay's Funko for Mighty Ducks Game Changers, I wanted to put this out for today's review. Now, this is from when Funko did Frontline Heroes Pops at the beginning of the pandemic, and so this is the nurse one. I just love it. I think it's great. Near the beginning of the pandemic, I went and helped at a residence where I had to dress very similarly, although I had to wear yellow garb and a shield over my face and everything. But it just touched home for me, and so I wanted to have one of these. And I just want to do a very brief review on the Netflix show The Good Doctor, or The Good Nurse, sorry. I watched it the other day because I was interested. I think Eddie Redmayne is great. I think Jessica Chastain is great. And so I wanted to see what it was about, and I was a little bit unclear. It said like suspense thriller. I was a little bit unclear where it was going, so I thought I'll watch it. And I didn't know properly until the very end, because they had one of those things at the end where they had the end credits where it has like this person has done this since then, and it walked through some of the details. And I wish they'd been clearer on that, and not from a perspective of I'm not going to watch it, but I personally think it raises things when it's a true story. So, like for example, The Good Nurse on Netflix or The Watcher on Netflix. I think to review them properly, you need to take into account that there are true stories. Spoiler alert. Okay, that's good enough time. So turn it off if you don't want a spoiler. But with The Watcher, and it was spoiler alert, there were people who complained because they didn't like the ending, because it was quite, again, spoiler alert, unresolved. But I think if you factor in that it's a true story, to me at least, it raises the uneasy feeling that it is the end. That is the end of the movie, because once you watch it and you take into account it's a real story, that's like unsolved mysteries level stuff, because you realize that it isn't over. There is no end chapter in that story. If I'd watched The Watcher and it ended as it did, and I was just make believe, I mean, I would have understood where the writers and the directors were going, but I think I would have been more upset by it. Whereas it's a true story. And similar to The Good Nurse, I mean, The Good Nurse has, I'm not going to give spoilers for that one. It has very good acting performances. I was very uneasy with Eddie Redmayne in a couple moments. And I was very uneasy with Jessica Chastain in a couple moments too. Like, I mean, just the emotions that are put into it, they're very good. I do think there was, again, if I was to separate just for a moment that it's a true story, if it was a movie, I would have thought there's storylines in there that I don't quite understand why they'd keep them. The timing maybe was a little bit, and then some problems with the ending, because if I'm watching a movie, maybe I want some more of this or some less of that. But I think when you watch it under the lens of a true story, I think, for at least for The Good Nurse, and for The Watcher too, but I'm talking about The Good Nurse now, it raises the level of what you're watching. Whether a movie that's about a true story is slow or lots of action, or gives you uneasy feelings, or there's stories you don't really understand why they're included, any of those things, when you factor in that this actually happened to someone or someone actually did these things, it just, in my opinion, increases that story. Because you're saying to yourself, like, no matter how it ends, someone actually did these things. This person actually, etc., etc., without giving spoilers. And I think that's a really well done. Now, to be truthful, and I should have gone to look again, I don't remember how either one of The Good Watcher or not The Good Watcher, just The Watcher or The Good Nurse, my apologies, explains at the beginning. But I think that, personally, I think movies that do, and by the fact that these are coming out so close after another, I think this is something Netflix is getting into, then I think they should include that. I know some will say, well, this is based on or inspired by or whatever, but I think knowing that, it raises those alarm bells, and it raises the suspense of what you're seeing. Because when you're knowing, oh, this is based on a true story, this is based on a true murderer or stalker or whatever else, you're raising your suspense. Because like at the end of the day, saying the Good Nurse without spoiling anything, at the end of the day, if there was to be someone who was or wasn't caught, you're going to be suspenseful or not. Like, what happens if you live in I don't know, say it has something happened in Alberta, Edmonton, Calgary, wherever, and you live there. Just, it hits so much deeper if you recognize, hey, this is a true story, I got to be careful here, or I can't believe someone actually did these things, or I can't believe this person got away with it, I can't believe a hospital would do that, I can't believe these people wouldn't move out of their houses before that, and all those things. I mean, taking that all into account for The Good Nurse, I would probably give it about a 7.5 out of 10. I think had it been a movie but not a true story, I probably would only give it like 4 or 5 out of 10. I didn't think some of the acting things weren't necessarily the strongest, but then I have to really ask myself, is this person portraying a character, or are they portraying a person? Because if they're portraying a person, their acting might be far better than I ever realized, because I'm not factoring that in. Whereas if they're playing a character, I can speak into that a little bit, and so I can't do it there. So I give it a 7.5 out of 10. The Watcher, just because I've been talking about it so much, honestly, there's some parts I didn't love, and reading about it after, learning there's some things that were added or taken out, I probably still give it a 7.5 out of 10, only because of the additional creepy factor and things that go into that. And I mean, I love unsolved mysteries, and so anything like unsolved mysteries is great in my books. And so yeah, that's my thing about the Good Nurse. Hope you liked it. If you want to check it out, you can. And The Watcher too, they're both on Netflix if you have it. And thanks again for watching and listening to my rambles. If you like what you see, feel free to give a like or subscribe, or check out some of the videos below. Thanks. Bye.